Good morning. My name is Stephen Johnson. I'm an organizer for Teach OSM. I'm co-presenting this morning with Celeste Reynolds, and we're here to talk about developing digital citizenship using OpenStreetMap. Three things we want to cover today. Give you a quick introduction to the OpenStreetMap project for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, and we'll give you a chance to start editing OpenStreetMap with giving you some basic editing skills. And we'll wrap things up by talk with a little discussion about open mapping and digital citizenship, but specifically how it's applied in the classroom. So there are 6 compelling reasons that OpenStreetMap is the best tool to teach geography. And in the interest of time, I'm just going to focus on that last bullet, which is cultivating spatial citizenship. So spatial citizenship, I'd like to assert, or citizenship is inherently a spatial activity. And when people are engaged in civic activities, those play out in geographic space. And there are no tools better than OpenStreetMap for learning that, both because students get a chance to provide useful data, they develop cartographic skills, but also in doing that, the downstream users gain benefit for that. OpenStreetMap, I think the takeaway from this slide here is that think of OpenStreetMap as the Wikipedia for maps. Anyone can sign up and be an editor just like Wikipedia. It's crowdsourced. A large portion, in fact, the majority of the data that's posted on OpenStreetMap is crowdsourced. It's contributed by volunteers, of which numerous of them are students and teachers. OpenStreetMap started in 2004 by a gentleman named Steve Coast, and he started it as a response to the lack of public domain geospatial data. And so he and his friends decided, after begging for taxpayer-funded data from Ordnance Survey, decided just to mount GPS units on the handlebars of bicycles and ride the streets of London and post the information to a server where anybody else could add their own stuff to it as well. 16 years later, we have about 6 million registered users, about which 50,000 regularly contribute on a monthly basis. But the goal here is to create a free, publicly available database of geospatial data free from proprietary restrictions. There are a lot of downstream users that I alluded to earlier. This list here was aided in part by the decision by Google in 2012 to raise the prices of their mapping products, during which time a lot of people scratched their heads and said, is it worth it? And asked, is OpenStreetMap good enough for what they were doing? And in a lot of cases, the answer was yes. So the list here is only a partial list, but yes? Question? Sorry? Okay. The list here is only partial, but you can see it includes a wide smattering here of commercial users, as well as large institutional users and governments and universities. This little GIF image here is just it's post-edit earthquakes. After the Nepal earthquake, I think it was in 2014, 2015. Anyway, all of this information here was gathered in a matter of days by volunteers and put on the map here. So for students and for learning, I mean, the impact here is undeniable here in terms of new data flowing in. But the fact that students in large part and volunteers contributed this meant that they had a meaningful learning experience creating this map data because it connected it to a useful social benefit. And this is what I was talking about spatial citizenship, is this engagement is essentially a civic, it's essentially a civic act. And this all happens through collaboration, and it all happens online through the map. Here's another example here, and we'll talk a little bit more about this at the end of our presentation, but we have here just an example from Celeste's class where she's engaged her students in mapping rural America, where the map base is not quite as good as it is in urban America. But this acquaints students here with real life issues in rural communities and what, making connections between things like food production and rural land uses and issues of urbanization are all connected in through this activity. So with that brief introduction there, I would like to switch gears, and this is the chance for you all to pull out your laptops and your mouse if you've got one here. And we have a project here that we have that we thought would introduce you to OpenStreetMap. And this is in Santa Rosa, California. As you know, there was a great number of wildfires in California this year. Santa Rosa was among the affected communities. And there are organizations like FEMA and Red Cross who are using OpenStreetMap data to aid in the rescue and recovery efforts with this. So with that, oops, what do we have here? Oh, I clicked on this. Here is, I think I flipped into the, oops, sorry here, bear with me. Yeah, let's go to the next, let me go to the next slide here. Yep. This is today's mapping process here. Here's kind of an overview of what we're going to do this morning here. We'll give you a few minutes to create your OpenStreetMap account. We'll ask you to log in with your credentials and zoom to a neighborhood in your town. We'll take the ID editor walkthrough, and the walkthrough is a very concise. It's a very concise interactive training module, and it takes about 15 or 20 minutes. So we want to get rolling pretty quickly here. After we finish the walkthrough, we'll walk to our task for teachosm.org, and we'll start mapping with that. So with that, let's start with this. Let's go to openstreetmap.org, and up in the upper right-hand corner, select sign up, and I'll give you a couple minutes to go ahead and do that. If you've got questions about the process or anything we've said to this point, now would be a good time to ask it. A couple tips about your username. Please don't use your email address. Anybody can see it, including spammers. And I'll give you another hint here. If you use a one-word name, so if your name is Bill Fold, make it BILLFOLD, no spaces in between. And you'll need to check your email account to verify.
Stephen, you might also want to recommend, sometimes the verification email might go into your junk folder or spam folder. So just make sure you check if you don't see it coming in right away.
Good point. One other thing I neglected to mention is please do not use Microsoft Internet Explorer. It just does not play well with OpenStreetMap. Firefox, Safari, Chrome, those all work just fine. How's everyone doing? Do you need another minute? Give you another 30 seconds. Okay, everybody, I think, should have their account created by now. I can't see faces or screens, so I'm at a bit of a disadvantage here, but raise your hand or let me know if you need more time at any point here. If you've gotten your account and you're logged in, zoom into a neighborhood, and it really doesn't matter where, because we're just using this to get to the ID editor, but you might want to zoom into, say, your hometown and see how well mapped it is on OpenStreetMap. That's something to do. And zoom into the city block level here. Give you a few seconds to...
Shannon raised her hand. Go ahead, Shannon. You can unmute and ask a question if you'd like.
Are you simply referring to the regular old Zoom tools, or are there specific buttons for like neighborhood view or?
I'm just using the regular pan and zoom functions. There's no specific neighborhood button or region button or anything like that. So it's just the in and out.
Thanks.
It's on the right-hand side of the screen on the default OpenStreetMap view. And you should see, if you're zoomed in sufficiently, the edit button up in the top left should come into view. It should be grayed out if you're not at editing level. So once you get to the level, once you zoom in sufficiently, go ahead and click on edit. And you should be presented with a panel, a panel with two choices on it. One says edit now and one says take the walkthrough. And I'd like you to click on take the walkthrough. Let's see if I can. So the walkthrough has 6 portions of it, and it's designed to get you acquainted with just basic editing technique. And if you're all GIS users, this may be, this should come naturally to you, I suppose.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Hey, apparently I already have an account and I can't get to the edit mode.
Oh, you can't get to the edit mode, and you
No.
already have an account. So if you can't get to the edit mode, you're probably not zoomed in sufficiently. That's my guess.
Wait a minute. I don't know. I just lost it again. I was in pretty close. As a GIS professional, I think I can say I was in pretty close.
Okay. And you're logged in, yes?
I believe so. It looks like it. I'm on a tablet. Is that going to make a difference? Maybe. I have a little magnifying glass up in the upper left-hand corner. Never mind. I don't need to tie you up here.
I think we lost Stephen. I think that's why he's not responding to you.
Oh.
So let me, I will get my screen going and get you, I think he must have lost connection or something because I'm looking at the participation and he is
Not
not there. So I'll take over. Hold on just a minute. Let's see here.
Hello, hello.
Oh, there he
Sorry.
There
is.
he is.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I got disconnected. I don't know why.
She was saying hello, hello, and I said,
Yes. Yeah, sorry. Let me,
Oops.
oh, I need to have my screen share enabled again. So I need to be remade a co-host. So
Oh dear.
thank you. I've got it now.
May I ask a question while you're doing that?
Sure.
Absolutely.
So I had the pop-up, I was in the walkthrough, but my pop-up windows were half off the screen and I couldn't, no matter what I did for zooming in and out of my window, I had to reset my session and now I've lost the walkthrough because it's not my first time in now.
Right, right. So here's what to do. On the right-hand side of the screen, if you're still in edit mode, there's a little question mark on there, and that's the help utility. Go ahead and click on that.
Okay.
And scroll down to the bottom of that, and you should see a
Oh,
little
yes. Thank you.
take the walkthrough. Yeah. So if you this happens frequently. If you do suddenly, if something happens and you drop out of the walkthrough, it's always available from the help screen. So you don't necessarily have to reinitiate another session to do this. Any other questions while we're going through this?
I'll also like to add that once you go through this walkthrough, it's also a good thing. Stephen always recommends this when you're dealing with teaching this with students. I'll introduce this in September, but I always try to have the students do it if there's been a long break where we've been mapping. I try to make sure that they're doing the walkthrough again. And it's always, and Stephen always says, even if you're, an experienced mapper, it's sometimes good to go through the walkthrough.
Yeah, I think it's good. If you're not familiar, you can always take it. There's no cost to it, and the data that you enter here, or the changes that you make, they go into the ether. There's no consequence here, so you can. It's a safe little sandbox, I suppose, that you can edit away and make all sorts of crazy mistakes without any consequences in this. So it is good to take over and over again.
Can I ask, this is Nora, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
So when I first tried to log in or actually to sign up, it also told me that I had an identity. So I had to reset the password and did that, and got in. But for some reason, I can't see the walkthrough either. And when I click on the edit button, so it doesn't show there anymore. It did show before.
Right,
and when
right.
I click on the help button, I can't see where it is on the help button either. There's welcome, but that's not the walkthrough.
The walkthrough does have a welcome. That's the first thing you see. If you've got like 6 little buttons at the bottom that says something like welcome, navigation, points, lines, areas.
Yeah.
That's the walkthrough. You're in the walkthrough if that's the case.
No, I know what the walkthrough looks like because I saw it on a previous screen with a different username or different display name.
Sure.
But now it's showing a different display name. It must have been one I signed up for a few years ago that I don't remember about. And it just says, so when I click on the help button, it says getting help. It doesn't show the walkthrough option anymore.
I don't even see the help button. So
okay, so you're logged in, correct, Nora?
Yeah, I'm
You're logged
logged in, and
Okay.
when I click on the edit button, when I did before under a different username or display
Yes.
name, I could select the walkthrough, and I started going through it. But because the walkthrough that I was going through was not showing the area I'd zoomed into, I thought there was something wonky with it, and I wanted to go to my area rather than Michigan Avenue somewhere. I don't know where that was.
Yeah.
Because I
Well,
presumed that the walkthrough was supposed to be the neighborhood that I chose. Is that correct?
no, that's not. And that's why well, yeah, it doesn't really make any difference because the walkthrough is the walkthrough, and
Okay.
it won't, no, it's the same area all the time in the
Okay,
walkthrough.
well, it
It's
still
a
doesn't show
canned,
anymore with this different display name. And when I go to the right, just to the left of my display name, and I click on help there, I think that's what you were referring to before. Is that right?
the help button should be in the bottom. It's on the right-hand side. It's the very bottom. It's got a little question mark on it. In
Oh,
the
okay,
edit.
because at the top near my display name, it says help. So I'll ignore that one and I'll go to
Yes,
the bottom right. Okay, there were just two help buttons.
correct.
Okay, two help buttons. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
There's help and then there's help.
Yeah, well, there's
Yeah, so
like bad help and good help. And,
But you can
yeah,
you can also access the walkthrough from that help button that you were talking about, Nora. When you click on it, it says getting help. If you
yeah.
say, it says welcome to OpenStreetMap. If you click on that, that will take you to another screen, and it says what's on the map, and there's a green check mark and a red X. If you just click on the green, it'll take you right to the walkthrough.
It's not actually for me. I don't know why,
Okay,
but I'm
that's
there now.
strange.
What's on the map? I've got the green check mark. I'm clicking on it. Nothing's happening.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. It should. So, okay.
No, I'm on a Lenovo ThinkPad.
No, okay. So yeah, go with the way that Stephen told you. So the other
Okay,
way, the help button,
so
it should come
so
up.
now when I click on that,
you might have to scroll down.
scroll down.
On the help utility, you might have to scroll down. So you click the little question mark in ID Editor.
Yeah, I did that, and
Okay.
I can't scroll. Oh, you know why? Because okay, well, you know, on the right, that panel of options, the plus, the minus, you know, the zooming and stuff, that's obscuring the scroll button. So I can't get to the scroll button because it keeps on activating the things that are on top of it. You see what I mean?
I can't see your screen.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that, like, if you without the help button being open, if the help button's not open, on the right hand side there's this panel of, you know, plus, minus, you know, full screen, all those different options.
Right.
And when I click on the help button, the help comes up behind them. And so the scroll bar is behind those icons, and I can't access it and I can't move the window, the help window, so I can't access it. I guess it's not optimized for Lenovo ThinkPad.
What browser are you using?
I'm in Chrome.
Okay.
I have a different tablet, and I have the little buttons, but I don't see anything. And help only says like query features.
You're not in edit mode.
Yeah, how do I get into edit mode then?
So you have to zoom into the city block level, and it doesn't matter where, because you're going to be
Okay, I am looking at a one restaurant on my screen.
Perfect. So
Okay.
up in the top left corner, click Edit.
I don't see it.
You're in the native OpenStreetMap interface, correct?
I believe so. It's at openstreetmap.org.
Right. And you're looking at one restaurant. And you're logged in.
And I'm logged in.
And so up in the upper left-hand corner, there's a button that says Edit.
No.
There's one that says Export, one that says History.
No, I'm doing something wrong. I'll have to play with this myself. You couldn't put your screen up, could you? Show us what you're doing.
Absolutely. Let me.
I mean, what you're doing your demonstration, and then I can just follow online.
I figured out my way around the scroll bar being obscured because there was a little tiny space in between the commands on the right side, and I put my mouse in the little tiny space, and I was able to access the thing behind the pop-up.
Oh, that's funny. Let's see here. All right, I changed my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
Super.
this will work for me. Great, thank you.
Okay.
I have the OpenStreetMap thing, but I don't have the other bars that say edit.
You don't have this edit, history, and export?
I wonder if I turned it sideways, it would work. Well, let me play with it. You just go ahead and do what you need to do, and I'll
Okay.
figure it out.
I'm assuming everybody else is proceeding with points and areas, lines, and so forth. Let's see. It might not be apparent. Let's see. There's the OpenStreetMap up in the top left will.
There it is. I did it landscape, and now it works.
That's it. That's the trick. Okay, so when you click on the edit button, it didn't do it that time, but let's see, the help is down here in the bottom right. And when I click on this, I can scroll down here and I can click start the walkthrough. So everybody should be chugging along here. We'll give you folks who are just getting started a few minutes to just play with a few of the features before we move on. I'm hoping that most of you, as GIS professionals, find this somewhat intuitive. Or at least easy to figure out. We'll give you like 3 more minutes to go through this, and even if you don't complete it, it's okay. Be sure that you cover the areas or the buildings portion so that we have that, because we're going to be digitizing buildings in our task here. Is everyone doing okay? All I hear is crickets, which means I think that everybody is doing just great.
One of the things maybe you could talk about, Stephen, is as they're going through this walkthrough, especially with buildings, as they're learning how to map buildings, how important it is to make sure you square it off. And I know you're going to talk about that later, but maybe it's just something to reinforce.
Right, and I think the walkthrough takes you through that when you add a building, that you digitize all four corners of a rectangular building. After you digitize all the corners, you tag it as a building. The next step is to square it so it doesn't look all wonky, and so you have some nice, pretty cartographic features there. And you can either right-click, the tutorial has you, the walkthrough has you right-click and use the context menu, which you can do. I find it faster, I think, or easier to add a building and tag it and then tap the Q key. But it is important, and I teach this at George Washington University, and I tell my students that it's just, there's no place in the world that builds buildings that aren't on a 90-degree angle. I mean, for the most part, of course, there's architectural exceptions to that, but most places in the world build buildings that are square. So square your corners so that they're nice and orthogonal. Okay, it's 11:50 and I think we need to move on. So click the Start Mapping. In fact, I think you could just kill your tab for ID in this, because what I'll do is I'll ask you to point your browser, open up a tab in your browsers and point it to tasks.teachosm.org. I've got it up here in my screen here. tasks.teachosm.org. Is everybody there? Okay, and when you get there, you should see something that looks like my screen. And the first thing to do is to log in. So I'm clicking the login thing here, and I'm going to click Grant Access. And that grants access to it. Now, if this is a first-time user, you may see up here in your username, you may see a red exclamation point, and it may require you to validate your email address. So once you log in, go check your email real quick. I'll give you 30 seconds to do that.
I'm sorry, I'm running slow. I just got up to your Teach OSM. Now, what am I supposed to do?
Okay, so in the top right-hand corner, there's a login button. Go ahead and click that and log in with your with your OpenStreetMap credentials.
Okay, log in. Here we go. Yep. Okay, so it brought me right to OpenStreetMap and I'm logged in.
Right, so it will take you over to OpenStreetMap to verify your credentials, and you click accept, and then it will take you back to the tasking manager. And now that you're logged in, you may have to, if this is your first time, validate your email address. Okay, so let's move on. Up at the top, you see the Teach OSM, you see Contribute, Learn, and About across the top bar. Let's click on Contribute. And this brings you to a page. You should be looking at something that looks like my screen right here. And all of these cards here on this thing are each, these are all different mapping projects around the world. And most of these have an educational bent to them, or they're sponsored by university or high school students have posted these up here. So in this search box here, let's type 1152. You could also type Santa Rosa. You could also type a keyword like wildfires or something like that. So, and here's the project. You can see here we've brought it up here. So let's go ahead and click on the card. And you can see some up here at the top. We have some instructions. This is kind of what this top half up here is kind of the what and the why. So what are we doing and why are we doing it? And we're doing this to get support and supplies to people in time, understand the extent of destruction and displacement. And you can see here we've got some links to some other articles and background information on here. Here's an article by New York Times. Here's another Scientific American article, describing the role of climate change. And this is kind of the rationale for us to do this. And if we scroll down a little bit, you can see on the left-hand side are the instructions, and on the right-hand side, you can see a map with some grids in it. The instructions tell us how to map, and we're going to be mapping buildings, and please trace the building footprint, save your work often, toggle between Bing and Mapbox imagery. I'll show you how to do that. And yes, if you do have questions, pipe up at any time. And I'm going to position my cursor over the map here and just slowly scroll in. And let's take a look at these. So each one of these white squares is available for mapping. The green squares have already been checked by an independent source. So somebody's already looked over those. The yellow ones have already been mapped. So really there's no reason for us to click those squares. We just want to click the white squares on here. So if you are ready, let's scroll down to the bottom here and click map. And you may have to scroll up a little bit, at least I do in my view here, and it says choose a task. I can select a random task or select a task by clicking on the map. I'm going to select this tiny little square right here. You can see it turned yellow on my screen, and it says start mapping. So I'm going to click start mapping. And this takes me to this screen right here. And you can choose a different editor, but we're just going to use the ID editor. Since you've already taken the walkthrough, you have some familiarity with that. So when I click Start Editor, it's going to open up a new tab in my browser. So let's go ahead and click Start Editor. And boom, here I am in OpenStreetMap again. Here I am with the ID editor, and here's my Start the Walkthrough or Edit Now choice. This time, click Edit Now. Everybody with me? Questions? Anything? Okay. This big, ugly magenta square you can see in the center of my screen, that's my task boundary. And I want to stay within that task boundary so that I'm not digitizing on top of somebody else, and so that we don't generate database collisions or duplicate entries for things. I have a method. I like to start in the top left corner and pan across and down, left to right, then right to left, and back and forth across the screen. And I'm double clicking so I can get in here. One newbie mistake is to try and digitize from way far out where you can't see the building footprint, but I like to zoom way in like this. So make sure that you're at the 500-foot level and not the 50,000-foot level. Remember the process here. We're going to click Area. I'm going to digitize the corners of the building. This looks a little convoluted, but let's follow. And remember to faithfully trace the building footprint. double click on the last point. Okay, so I have a piece of geometry in here, but OpenStreetMap doesn't know what this is yet. So I'm going to slide over here to the left-hand pane. I'm going to click on building features, and I know this is a house, but let's pretend I don't know it's a house. I never want to attribute more to the imagery than what I can derive from it. So I'm just going to tap building. Now you can see I made a few mistakes digitizing. It's a little wonky, right? And some of those crenellations on the roof line here. So I'm going to tap my Q key and watch what happens when I do that. So tap, and you can see that it just brought everything into alignment and it's all orthogonalized. Okay, super. So I've created this, I've digitized a building, it's orthogonalized and everything. So now let's pretend I've digitized 10, 20 buildings. It's time for me to save. Up in the upper right-hand corner is the save button. I'm going to click the save button, and I have to add a little change set comment in here. So I'm going to keep all those hashtags in there because the hashtags are useful for us to do interesting things with later on. They help us to audit the thing. So I'm going to keep all the hashtags, and now I'm going to added a building in Santa Rosa. And since you are newbies, I would like you to tick this little box down here that says, I would like someone to review my edits. And then click upload. And boom, there it is. It's on OpenStreetMap now. So now I've committed it to OpenStreetMap. So that's the basic process for editing. It's just draw the box, click area, trace the building outline, and then upload. You don't need to upload after every building. I'm just going to slide over here and start editing another one. This is funny because it's got a funny roof line in here. Any questions to this point?
I do. When I clicked on a box to choose my mapping area,
Yes.
unlike you, I did not get a pink outline. So I don't know what the limits, the extent of my actual mapping area is.
Oh, here's what you can do. I'm going to kill my tab here, and you can see I'm still, my square still looks blue here, but what I'm going to do is since I didn't map everything in there, I'm just going to click stop mapping. That releases the square. So try and do that. Try and kill the tabs that you don't have any outline in. And let's go back over here to the tasking manager. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. And what I suggest you do is pick another square. So I'm going to pick this one here, and you should pick one as well.
So I have mine is when I go back to the grid, it says locked by me on that one place I had clicked, even though I closed.
Okay, yeah, it's going to say that. And I don't think there's a way to unlock it. It will unlock by itself after 2 hours. So
Okay.
if you wander off and leave it, it's not going to lock it forever. It's just going to lock it for a couple hours. So there's no harm here in doing that. So go ahead and select another task and let the other one will just go.
Well, it's not going to let me. It tells me I've already got something else locked, so I can't select another one right now.
Let's see, what can we do here? That task is not a state that allows mapping. Well, that's discouraging. What you might do is try reloading the task. You just Control R and reloading the tasking manager. Or Command R if you're a Mac user.
What happens if you find a polygon that's not matching the shape of a building? Can you fix that?
Yep, you sure can. And believe it or not, this happens all the time. And the reason why is, I can show you why. Let me zoom in here a little bit. There's a little layer cake on the right-hand side here with background settings in here. And I've expanded it on my screen so you can see it, but let's, there's several image sets available, and you can see as I change the different, between Maxar Premium, Maxar Beta, there's a lot of, let's see what USGS has here. Pretty grainy. NAPE imagery is here, also pretty grainy. Bing is the default, but you can switch between, I like, where I can, Maxar imagery is got good coverage worldwide, but Bing is fine for this task. So yes, you'll find that things do move around, and you can certainly move things if you want. The way to do that, let me zoom in on this, and here's a building here. This building needs a little help here. It doesn't look square, so I'll square it. And also, while I've got it, I can tap the M key, and you can see I can move it around a little bit, and I can move it around a lot, but I'm just going to move it, reposition it, and then just tap the screen, and it drops it right there. So yes, you can move it, and feel free to correct other people's work. If you see like buildings like I just did that look a little wonky, you can tap them and then tap the Q key, and that will bring them into alignment. So feel free to correct mistakes. And also, if you feel like it, you can correct this line work as well and make it nice and pretty.
What if there is a building that looks like it looks pretty good, but it's a little shifted, and you really want to drag it, the whole polygon, over the building so it's better positioned? How does one select the whole? How does one do that?
Okay, so if you can see my screen here, I'm kind of hovering over this. I'm going to tap the building to select it, and then tap the M key, and then you can see I can move, well, the MT, until I tap the screen again, I can move this any place it needs to go.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to place it right over the building footprint here, and then tap again, and it's placed. Does that help?
Yes,
Did I answer your question? Sure. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry if you already said this. Is there a hashtag you want us to use?
Yeah, shouldn't we use NEARC 2020? You can add that to the list. I did not add that to the list. Let me go ahead and save my changes, and I will add this here. Added a building. I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to add. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. I'm looking at the picture, and it looks like there's a third building in here that it's not been captured. The top one that has a red box around it. If you bring it, if you look down to the bottom there's something peeking out under there, and I think there's actually 3 buildings and not 2. No, up, no, up. I'm pointing with my marker, and it's not doing any good at all. You see the thing that looks like a little handle to the right of the building. One of the buildings that you've captured, the one you were moving around before, actually, right at the corner.
This one here?
Nope, other corner, kitty corner.
This one here.
This one here. Now, if you go down just a little bit, and you see right there, there's an extra thing in there. Or is that a parking area?
I think it's part of the building. I think you're right. Here's what to do. If I tap this, you see this little chevron in here? I can drag that and fix it. Yeah, I can just update the outline of the building here. So cool. Yeah, good catch.
Thank you. Yeah. 30 years of this, I got it.
Right. Yeah, don't hesitate to go ahead and save your work if you have not done so here. We've just got a few minutes left. Actually, we've got what, 2 minutes left? Am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
even if we don't finish a grid, once we log out, does it unlock it for somebody else to go in and complete?
It unlocks it for somebody else, yes. But here's also what to do. Let's go ahead and save. I'm going to save my Added building in Santa Rosa. I'm going to upload this. And let me go back to our presentation because I want to give Celeste a little time here to close this out. So I'm going to kill this tab here, and I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to click Stop Mapping, which releases that task for somebody else to work on.
Can I ask a quick question? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
You said to square the corners to click on the Q.
Yes.
But you mean the Q on the keyboard? Because that's what I did.
Q on the keyboard. Yes. Yes. Yep.
It doesn't. Oh, okay. It worked that time. It hadn't worked before, so I don't. Maybe I just tapped it wrong. Okay. Great.
Okay. I have some stuff in here, the slides that I've glossed over, but that's okay. We can include these. We can include these in the PDF for you.
I already did that for them, Stephen.
Oh,
It's already
super
on.
good. All right. Celeste, I think I should just take this, turn this over to you since they already have this, and I can do the slides if you like since I'm here.
Okay. So I'll go really quickly. TeachOSM has a website called teachosm.org, and there are more resources for teachers, how you can integrate it into your classroom. So there's lesson plans if you want to get more familiar with it, and ways, ideas on how you can incorporate into your classroom. This is an example, if some of you were here, these are just real quick examples. I know we're coming to the end, but a lot of times I use the Choices program from Brown University to highlight some of the topics that I'm covering in my AP Human Geography class. This is just one example where we talked about the Rohingya refugees. And when I went into the HOT tasking manager to look for mapping projects that was related to this topic, I found a task project. And what was really cool is that oftentimes the project editors will include background information on the mapping project, which I think that's very important when you're working with students. A lot of times they don't understand the importance of this mapping. They just see it drawing boxes or drawing lines. And I am always very cognitive of explaining to them why they're mapping, who it's helping. And this particular article was a gold mine because it had pictures, it had maps comparing the sanitation deal with kind of where the latrines were versus where the water pumps were, and how they were very worried about diseases breaking out with this new informal settlement emerging very quickly. This is another example of a student who really enjoyed doing open street mapping, and when it was time for her senior year, we have students do senior projects, and she wanted to do a mapathon, and she incorporated arts with it. So that night she invited the community and students to come in. She had about 100 people there, and she used current AP Human Geography students to help community members with the OpenStreet mapping process. Like, how do you get to through the tutorial? How do you get here? What do I do? Why is it this? Just sort of like what Stephen was doing. She had AP Human Geography students helping community members get through it. And this is another example where I know I needed to be teaching over urbanization coming up in my urban unit. And I've already found some articles, some great videos, and I was able to go to the TeachOSM tasking manager just to see, hey, are there any projects that are talking about, that are there about for over urbanization? And there is. Now, I don't know if that project will be there when it's time for us to cover that unit, but I do know that that there are opportunities in different in the tasking manager, in the TeachOSM tasking manager, as well as the HOT manager. So it's just a great way to get the students engaged. So there's some websites for you. You can also reach out to Stephen or you can reach out to me, and we'll be more than happy to get you the help and the support that you need to get OpenStreetMapping into the classroom.
I think one thing that I'm not going to read this slide, but one thing we did have on here is keep contributing. And you as GIS professionals, most of you should have no problem, getting that knack of it on getting the hang of, open mapping. But, practice does make perfect, as they say. Here's our contact information. I guess thanks for the opportunity to present. This is great. Any questions, or do we might not have time for questions? Or
Celeste, if any of your students do any mapathons, I'd love to connect just to show some of my students what is possible.
absolutely.
Okay. I know I'm trying to plan one in December. Hopefully that'll happen. That's my goal. I've been planning on working with a group of students to get a mapathon going. So I would be more than happy to reach out to you.
Is that event that you're planning? I live in Falmouth, so something I would love to participate in. Is that something you're sharing with the community?
At the time, I wasn't going to share it with the community, but I welcome community members. So it's going to be a virtual event, and I'm actually trying to work, it's kind of doing it through the Human Rights Club at my school, and trying to get at least 6 or 7 students to join me virtually and map a project together. Stephen hosts, I got the idea because Stephen hosts a mappy hour to help teachers just get more familiar and get more mapping experience. And he talks about different OpenStreetMapping tools. And it's a fun time because people can talk and we share each other's screens. And I said, oh, well, this is cool because I could do that with my students. So these are former AP Human Geography students that did some OpenStreetMapping, and I'm trying, they're like, hey, we want to do something, but how do we do it? Because we can't get together physically. So this was an idea that we're trying, and we're shooting for December because we just got the approval through our school that we could do after school activities with our students, because initially we couldn't. So now we are, so that's what we're planning in December. So I would be more than happy. You can send me your email just so that I have it. And then when I have the date and the time, I'll send you the link and you can join in with us. That'd be great.
And if any of you are interested in joining us on Tuesday afternoons at 4 p.m. Eastern for Mappy Hour, you can shoot us an email, and I'll see that you get the link to join us.
Thank you.
I think the coach has turned into a pumpkin at this point by now. I think we're a few minutes over, so I'm going to relinquish my screen and turn things back over to our hosts. Thanks so much, everyone.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.